Roe v. Wade is apparently about to be destroyed. So this is the law in the United States that made, well, criminalizing abortion illegal. And the argument being that it's in the Constitution, bro. A woman has a right to abortion. So it's up there.
It's somewhere in there.
Like,
Don't look for it.
It's Amendment 3.5 or something. It's buried in between a couple of them.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah, trust us. And I thought I'd start off with a shill, of course, and we'll start off with some other things that may have aged poorly than legalizing all abortions. As you can see here, the reality of trans regret. This is a premium hangout you did, in which you got to enjoy yourself.
I've been looking into the dark stuff recently, and I've come out a different person. Honestly, when you start to look into this stuff, it completely changes your perspective, not only on the whole trans issues, but also on the rhetoric used by trans rights activists. It's like you don't know what you're doing. You're just making everything worse for these people that you're trying to help. But that's just leftist activism in a nutshell, isn't it?
I was just the term trans rights. Trans right to what?
Trans entitlement to get transitioning off of your taxpayer money.
Anyway, so do go and check that out. That's on lotus.com. Otherwise, we shall get into Roe v. Wade. So let's start off with some footage of people who are protesting what has happened. So it should be a different link there, but there's some protesters who were protesting the fact that they were upset that, well, the news had broke that they're going to be destroyed, and they were outside chanting abortion is a human right for some reason. And
no, it's not.
Okay. Abortion is healthcare as well, was one of the other chants.
And this also just comes down to the leftist interpretation. Oh, here we go.
As you can see there, just chanting abortion is healthcare.
Yeah. It comes down to the leftist interpretation of what a right is, whereas like the right wing tend to be like, right is something that
you're
is
born with.
Yeah, you're born with it, whereas the left are just like, no, rights are what other people can give me for free.
Yeah, gives me that for free, and healthcare being one of them there. If we move forward, we go to the next one. We also have them chanting, I misheard them. Apparently they're chanting sexist Nazis got to go at this news. As you can see by Myth-Informed Milwaukee there. I thought they were chanting sexy Nazis got to go at first, which was a whole new dimension. I was like, what the hell are they chanting that for?
Well, I mean, there is the stereotype of the leftists with the MAGA chuds, you know?
Yeah, but for Nazis.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be past what I would expect from them, you know?
No, true. If we go to the next one, we can see TikTok having a whole bunch of reactions there as well. There's TikTok collecting them, which is a lot of them just screeching and snorting, apparently. Perfectly normal.
I can't have my 15th abortion. No,
it's untenable.
I might have to start wearing protection instead.
No. But let's move forward. So what is the news here? So the news is that apparently a draft of what the court's opinion is on Roe v. Wade has been leaked, and this is entirely new. This has not seemingly happened before. It's completely improper. It seems like one of the judges or one of the staff have just leaked this draft, which is interesting. That kind of professionalism was completely broken down. If we go to the next link here, we can see Politico, who ran the story as soon as they got their hands on that draft. Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights, draft opinion shows. The Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. Quote, Roe was erroneously wrong from the start, Alito writes. Erroneously, sorry. Quote, we hold that Roe v. Cassidy must be overruled.
Roe and Casey.
Casey, sorry. And the opinion of the court, it is time to heed the Constitution and return to the issue of abortion to the people and its elected representatives. So it's the opinion is that the Supreme Court never should have ruled on this. This isn't our purview.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been a federal law in the first place. This is down to this is a states' rights issue.
Literally, because it's not in the Constitution. So
yes. I doubt the founding fathers and the Federalists were like, oh, but what if women want to kill babies before they're born? We must write in a clause for this.
Yeah, and I'm not hugely invested in the whole abortion debate. I've mentioned this previously. My perspective is on it. I don't really know. Like, I'm willing to learn more. And I've always been a bit like, there must be a period in which it's, okay, surely. But the more and more I've interacted with leftists, the more and more they keep arguing for just literally killing babies.
Yes,
I'm saying after they're born as well.
I think the old standard of what was it, safe, legal, and rare, was basically sounded fine to me. But it's the fact that they've, as always, you give them an inch, they will take a mile.
Hillary Clinton position. I didn't know you were a Stand With Her fan.
Oh, I know, right? I know.
But I believe that she can win.
It seemed that set up some pretty common sense standards for it. If she's been raped, if she's got threat of dying in childbirth or something like that.
The extreme cases.
Yeah, the extreme cases, okay, there's an argument to be made. But if you've just made a bad decision, had sex without protection, and you're just like, oh no, I want to get rid of it, then maybe you should have thought about that before you made the decisions that led to it.
Yeah, not to mention all the other options you've got for birth control, not to mention the morning after pill, blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's...
Or just adoption. If
Yeah.
you want to give up the baby, if that's convinced you're not fit to be a parent.
But they write in here, deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been fluid. Justices can and do sometimes change their votes as draft opinions circulate, and major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before the decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. So that's the thing. None of this should be public. It's just someone's leaked it for some reason, and it may not even be the case. Things may change, but apparently in 2 months, essentially the court is going to come up and be like, yeah, that was dumb. Let's get rid of that.
It seems very convenient that it could be leaked like this, especially when there's been so much controversy over the past year or so about states like Texas changing the requirements to be able to get an abortion and such, and all the controversies that come out of that. It seems like something that has been deliberately done to court controversy to try and intimidate the Supreme Court, if this has been the decision that they've made behind closed doors.
Seems to be. The immediate impact of the ruling, as drafted in February, would be an end to the half-century guarantee on federal constitutional protection of abortion rights, and allow each state to decide whether to restrict or ban abortion. It is unclear if there have been subsequent changes to the draft. No draft decision in the modern history of the court has ever been disclosed publicly. While a case is still pending, the unprecedented revelation is bound to intensify the debate over what is already the most controversial case on the docket this term. Apparently this being a discussion in, I believe it's Mississippi, have changed their abortion laws as well, so there's the argument. If the Alito draft is adopted, it would rule in favor of Mississippi in the closely watched case that is the state's attempt to ban most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. A George W. Bush appointee who joined the court in 2006, Alito argues that the 1973 abortion rights ruling was an ill-conceived and deeply flawed decision that invented a right mentioned nowhere in the Constitution and unwisely sought to wrench the contentious issue away from the political branches of government. It seems absolutely correct.
Yes.
Just looking back on it. Quote, the inescapable conclusion is that a right to abortion is not deeply rooted in our nation's history and traditions. And you might think, well, duh.
Did we need to really have to confirm this?
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I mean, you think that these things are so obvious, but apparently not. And, he pointed out that there is no right to abortion in the Constitution. Let's stop being silly. And so... fair point. And looking back, if we go to the next one, we can see The Guardian writing about this and sort of saying, well, what were the arguments for Roe v. Wade looking backwards? What was the point? And of course, they've written this in a style that is supportive of Roe v. Wade, because The Guardian being a left-wing outlet. However, the arguments don't make any bloody sense. I mean, like, just start off. The fact that this was a lady who, I believe she was in Texas, her lawyers argued that she couldn't go outside the state to get an abortion, and she wanted to get it done, that was her right. And they argued it was her right because it was her privacy right, which don't make any sense. Quote, this right of privacy is broad enough to encompass a woman's decision whether or not to terminate her pregnancy. How?
That's very strained reasoning. So because of that, the federal government has to step in and force all states to make it legal.
But also just, like, run that to murder? Like, murder is a privacy issue?
Hey, I did it in the privacy of my own home. Police, please back away.
But it's even worse than that. It's like, you're in the docket, and it's like, why'd you do it? Well, I'm having my rights violated right now. I am a murderer, but I did it privately, and therefore, my privacy rights are okay.
Oh, he's got us there, boys.
Like,
case dismissed.
The whole thing collapses, which is a weird argument looking back. I don't understand it. Maternity or additional offspring may force upon the woman a distressful life and future. Psychological harm may be imminent, mental and physical health may be taxed by childcare, they argue, which is essentially just arguing, well, if you force her to have the child that she is pregnant with, then she may have negative effects by having to pay for it or raise it and whatnot, which, that's what getting pregnant is. Again, I don't really feel like that's an argument to have an abortion.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it was consensual sex, by definition, no one forced her into this.
No. So the idea that, well, no, I have a right to abortion at any point because, well, the kid may cost me money. You knew that. Like, also, it's not a shock.
Isn't the the upshot of this kind of argumentation is that basically anything can cause distressful life and future?
Yeah.
Anything could cause psychological harm.
If you have any dependents on you and they're taxing to your life, then you can kill them.
Oh, my mental and physical health is being so taxed by looking after my grandma. Sorry. Get the pillow.
A man's right to
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird argumentation. I just don't get it looking back. But we'll read his arguments now and why he says, well, this is obviously inappropriate. So we get the next one. We have back to the article here. And these are some quotes from his text, which I read what I could, the highlighted sections. The highlighted sections, I think, are the most important. He says, at the time of Roe v. Wade, states still prohibited abortions at all stages. In the years prior to that decision, about a third of the states had liberalized their laws, but Roe abruptly ended that political process. It imposed the same highly restrictive regime on the entire nation, and it effectively struck down the abortion laws in every single state. As Justice Brian White aptly put it in his dissent, the decision represented the, quote, excessive use of raw judicial power, and it sparked a nationwide controversy that has embittered our political culture for half a century.
And that sounds true, because what this is a massive overstepping of political boundaries by the federal government.
Yeah, it also just seemed completely unnecessary. Like, I love the way Supreme Court justices do right. I do really enjoy reading their arguments. But the fact that he argues, well, look, the states were already liberalizing their view on these laws. They've done it since. The judicial branch seemed to have just enacted this because, well, we wanted an end to the political debate, and that's not our role. We're here to interpret the Constitution, not be, well, Democrats, I suppose. It's also weird looking back how many Republicans voted for this, but whatever. Quote, we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defendants of Roe now chiefly rely on, the Due Process Clause and the 14th Amendment. That provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution, but any such right must be, quote, deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition. And of course, abortion isn't one of them. Abortion isn't deeply rooted in American history or tradition as a right that all Americans have. So, yeah, that's the thing.
It was also, you missed out there, it said also deeply rooted in the implicit in the concept of ordered liberty. And what of the liberty of the little baby?
No, don't have liberty. I mean, you've been reading, what was it, the chap you mentioned earlier?
Oh, I've been reading Rothbard's Libertarian Manifesto for a New Liberty, and it's brilliant, and it's super autistically logical in all of its arguments, which I think is one of the reasons that it appeals to me so much. In fact, all of the ANCAP is based on like a super strict logic, except for the one bit where he argues in favor of legalized abortion, which is he kind of goes with the it's a parasite in invading the private property because you own yourself, invading the property of the woman. Nobody has the right to, nobody has the right to do this. And it's like, well, yes, but and he also kind of frames it in a quite dishonest way where he's like, oh, all they're doing is ejecting this invader from their property. And it's like, yes, but what if I decide 9 years in you're invading my private property? Time to eject. You know, that kind of logic doesn't really flow, or at least he doesn't seem to acknowledge that the logic can be taken to some really negative extremes that he wouldn't stand by.
Which is exactly what you get with modern Dems in a different vein. They're obviously arguing for different ideological principles, but they end up with, well, why not up till birth? I mean, Hillary Clinton literally did end up saying that at one point as well, which was embarrassing.
There's been quite a few more people coming out recently being like, unless it's literally got its head sticking out of your vagina,
it's fair game.
Yeah.
So the ending quote here from him being, the inescapable conclusion is that the right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. On the contrary, an unbroken tradition of prohibiting abortion and pain of criminal punishment persisted from the earliest days of the common law until 1973. So go to hell.
Well, yes.
Which, I reading his argument seems solid.
And it's an inherent contradiction of we as a society, we as a culture and a people see murder bad, but killing babies, A-okay.
This is his argument, and also apparently the majority of court agree with him, and this has been leaked, so it probably is the case that this will end up all getting overturned, which is interesting to know that they actually do have some Republican values in them. Well, nice to know. So what's the leftist response? Because that's always the funniest part, because good things, okay, neat things, we can see, but the leftist response is calm, rational, in all caps. So we can see one here. So this is some verified checkmark who decided to go with, right now, abortion is still legal. If you have an appointment tomorrow, next week, soon, you are still fine. Go out and get your abortions. Just get it done now.
Everybody, even if you're pregnant, even if you want your kid, just go and get it aborted just in case, because you won't have the opportunity again.
I imagine living in the last days of cocaine being legal in America, like the days leading up to it
Quick,
being
everybody snort your stuff while you still can.
like, everyone went mad.
The annoying thing is, once again, these people don't seem to recognize, okay, just because it's not enshrined in federal law doesn't mean that your stupid progressive state isn't still going to go, well, yeah, we're fine with abortion up till whoever knows how many terms.
Yeah, it doesn't actually change anything for the highly leftist states because, of course, it's up to you.
Yeah, do you think California is going to go banning abortion anytime soon?
No. If we go to the next one, we have some other leftist responses. This one from Hillary Clinton herself. Safe, legal, and rare woman who has completely thrown that out of the water. As you can see here, she goes with, this decision is a direct assault on the dignity, rights, and lives of women, not to mention decades of settled law. The lives, dignity, and existence of the children in this conversation, not to be.
Well, also, it's interesting that Hillary Clinton must have really quickly gone out and got a PhD in biology.
She knows what a woman is again.
Yeah, seeing as she can recognise what a woman is.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that whole rhetoric's been thrown out of the window. It always is very specifically for the abortion debate. All of a sudden,
men can also have women, Hillary.
It's the patriarchy exerting control on women, unless they're going into their sports and winning all of the prizes.
Yeah, she goes with, it will kill and subjugate women, even as the vast majority of Americans think abortion should be legal. Again, it still will be. Like it's up to your state is the case, but also even Texas accepts it as legal for, I think it's cases of rape and murder.
And I think it's up to 6 weeks, because the 6th week is when you can start to detect a heartbeat.
Yeah, so
that's like the clearest kind of objective measure as we can have as to when life begins.
So I mean, you got your arguments there, but then the fact that this will kill and subjugate women. Women babies, I guess. If we move forward, we then have the response, which is that the traditions and history of America are extremist. This according to Pocahontas here. So, alleged Pocahontas. An extremist Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade and impose its far-right, unpopular views on the entire country. It is time for the millions who support the Constitution and abortion rights to stand up and make their voices heard. We're not going back, not ever. All right, let's take that line by line for a minute. It's just the Constitution is far-right.
I mean, by their logic, it actually is, because it's trying to limit government power.
Yeah, the foundation document and the foundation of what American ideology is, the Americanism, as we foreigners look at you and call you, is far right. That's extremist to Pocahontas. Well, okay, well, that tells you more about her than anything else, doesn't it? It's unpopular, which is why you can't just change it at a state level. You can, if it was popular. Go for it.
Well, the interesting saying the imposition is that what they're actually doing is overturning a massive imposition of power upon the states and letting it be their decision.
Yeah, and there's also the point she says it's extremist to implement essentially traditional American ideology. Like, if that's extremist, I mean, that's. Do you remember Carl was talking about the fact that we had Curtis Yarvin and whatnot all talking that they see the world as they're living in the normal space of tradition and the countryside and whatnot and normal life. And then you have these weird city dwellers who live in this clown world-esque society where they think that cutting off their children's genitals or restricting it so they go infertile is totally normal.
Yep.
Whereas you saying
if they don't abort the children first, of course.
Yeah, whereas you saying that maybe we shouldn't do that is you're the extremist in that situation. Yes. I mean, it is more and more true.
In the Cultural Revolution, who was it ruining the countryside? The city dwellers.
Yeah. There's also the fact that she wants to support the Constitution and abortion rights.
No, she doesn't. These people would actively repeal the Constitution if they could get away with it.
Because abortion rights aren't in the Constitution. As has been pointed out by the justices, it's not there.
As has been pointed out by anybody who's even taken the time to flip through the bloody thing.
So, it's contradiction in terms. If we move to the next one, we then have some other leftist responses. We have here, again, with the extremist rhetoric here, the radical right extremist Supreme Court just voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. This is a dark day. Again, how about we institute the Constitution as written? Well, that's radical far-right extremism.
The radical far-right extremist Ketanji Brown Jackson. I do love that your prediction came perfectly true with this. They bring in diversity woman just so she can sit there while they tear up everything she loves.
Look at it, leftist. If we go to the next one, we have Senator Sanders, who decided to come out with saying that this again was extremist and we must pass laws now to legalize abortion everywhere. And by doing it, we should also get rid of the filibuster as well. Just tear everything down. I mean, I'm surprised they aren't more talking about packing the court, as they said they would as well. Just pick more Supreme Court justices. Just ruin it. Why not? Raw power. If we go to the next one, we have AOC, who of course, is mad as well. She went with, as we've warned, SCOTUS isn't just coming for abortion, they're coming for the right to privacy Roe rests upon, which includes gay marriage and civil rights. I didn't know that civil rights apparently relied upon the right to privacy.
We should really start telling all those pride parades, shouldn't we?
Don't you know it's meant to be private?
Yep.
No, but the idea that it's the right to not be discriminated against on the basis of race is your right to privacy? No, there's no way that's true. I'm sorry, but that's absolutely no way that is true. This is mad.
Well, once again, AOC seems to have just taken that original Roe v. Wade decision at face value and not questioned it at all and gone like, hold up, right to privacy has nothing to do with this. Hold up, this is nonsense.
Yeah. And if we look at the people on the ground who turned up to do the protesting within an hour's notice, convenient that, you can see one person here putting that they put, or at least saw F. Kavanaugh being written into the ground in, I hope that's paint.
Yes, and you see it's Kavanaugh who's the extremist.
Yes, and if we go to the next one, we can see the kind of people who turned up with an hour's notice. You have him saying here, abortion on demand and without apology. Describes himself with he, they, organizer, presumably split personality disorder. And if we go to his LinkedIn, we can see he literally works for the Dems as well. So, big shock. So the people you see in the pictures are literal paid actors almost.
And these people wonder why it is that public opinion on abortion seems to have flipped. We just want drive-through abortions is what we're after.
It's the American way.
It's the only thing. You could get an abortion and a nice big tasty while you're at it.
Big bulgar. Anyway, we go to the next one. We have some other... John found this image, which I found funny. And it's, again, a big own. As you can see to themselves, some diverse cast. One that says women aren't the only people who have abortions. Let's put that to one side. Let's not even engage with that today.
Yeah.
And we have abortion restrictions exist to control us, not to protect us. Yes. 100% yes. That is the conservative position.
I mean, it's literally to protect the babies.
Yeah, it is to restrict you from killing the baby. That's the conservative interpretation of what's going on. So, absolute Chad, yes. If we go to the next one, there's just another rendition I made of this. If you can click on the second image there, which is murder restrictions exist to control us, not to protect us. Okay. They also protect you may have thought. I mean, even in the abortion case, it also protected you from being aborted as a child.
I mean, I don't... please, someone in the chat correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I have seen some figures going around recently which have said that since, I think, the 1970s, since Roe v. Wade, more black children have been aborted than born.
Yeah.
So this is really protecting those communities, isn't it?
The black nationalists describe it in their quote, the Negro baby Holocaust. The black nationalists are very upset about all this.
I can imagine they are.
It's like everyone in Tariq Nasheed going, all right, fair enough. No more brother wars.
Pretty much. And Tariq, for all his faults, can be pretty based sometimes.
Yeah, there's also Academic Agent likes to show you a graph of crime over time, and there's a little down after. Now, moving on. Let's go to the next one. So we can see also here the whole murder restrictions exist to protect us are also maybe important, and maybe more important quicker than later. If we can click on these, you can see the first one here. Someone saying conservative justices will have their lives and the lives of their families threatened because of this. The person who leaked this knows that. And then someone else verified just being like, good, wonderful. You go to the next one, you can see some journo who is just happy to have people's lives threatened.
Should we just start using scumbag as a synonym for journo?
Yeah.
After Taylor Lorenz as well.
Just open scumbags.
Yeah.
Open scumbags? No, they've never been closed about it. What am I saying?
They're actually proud of it, if anything.
Proud scumbags inciting violence directly there. So there you have it. There's the death of Roe v. Wade, which seems to have been coming about thanks to a leak. We can all see it happening in real time. And as you say, I do love that the diversity hire is going to have to sit there with a big old frown as all the leftist documents just get ripped up in front of them. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium contemplation series, this one on Imperial Japan. At least there were no weebs. And if you want to follow Josh, who made this, you can also follow him on Getter at @Josh_firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye. Let's go to the next section.
Beautiful.
I didn't bring my water. I'm very upset.
Would you like some water?
No.
I'm not infected with anything, Callum.
No, it just feels weird.
All right, your loss, I suppose. Continue having your dry mouth, sucker.
Gonna have to conserve.
Refreshing.